Today I'd like to show you how I make sushi at home and some of the products that I use. If we take our time, it's easy and it's fun. Let's do it. We're going to need sushi rice, rice vinegar, a little bit of salt, and sugar. While the rice is cooking, I'm going to prepare the seasoning. And that's going to be, for 1 cup of rice, I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of vinegar, half a tablespoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Normally I do 2 cups, and that will be double the amounts that I just told you. I mix it really well, and then I put it in the microwave for a few seconds, but just a few seconds, so it dissolves a little bit better and mixes better with the rice. I'm going to add the rice to a bowl and break it up a little bit, then add the seasoning. You have to be gentle with the rice. More than stirring it is cutting. If you have a rice paddle, use that for mixing the rice. Mix it until you see that all the rice grains are coated with the seasoning. I also like to cool it off a little bit with a fan, just because once you let it sit there for a while, if it's hot, it will continue to get soft. You don't want to over mix it, and I think right now it's about right. I'm going to cover it and put it aside until I'm ready for the sushi. I'm going to cut up some cucumbers and scallions. Those are 2 staples that I like to have near me when I'm making the sushi. Sometimes I don't use it, but I like to have it just in case. Today I'm not at the place where I normally make sushi, so I don't have my equipment. Not that I have a lot of equipment, but my knives in particular are it's kind of important to have a sharp knife, and I don't have it here. This one's okay for the veggies, but we'll see for the fish. Today we're going to use surf clam because I found it at the market. In case you're not familiar with the surf clam, it already comes cooked and clean. I still like to clean it a little bit more, rinse it, dry it, and then I set it out on a plate, and that's pretty much it. The flavor is a little bit sweet, and it's not tough, but it's not soft. It has a really great consistency. And just for fun, I like to arrange it as a ginger blossom. I used to have a plant that looked just like this. Most often you're going to find the surf clam served as nigiri. This is kampachi, as you can see by the label. It comes from Japan, and it's very mild but rich tasting at the same time. It has a firm texture and a mild flavor. It's going to be interesting. In this case, it's going to be a do as I say, not as I do. You definitely don't want to saw the fish. As you can see, the knife just sticks. It's really, really hard to cut it properly. And you don't want to saw it because it will just break down the fish. The insert, you can see what knife I normally use. It's a Japanese knife. It's very sharp. You have to be very careful. I've cut myself a few times, but it cuts the fish beautifully. So this is a good demonstration of how to do it without a sharp knife. Not everybody does have a sharp knife, and normally I don't mind it for other things. It's just that for the fish, since it is a little expensive, you don't want to break it up. It didn't come out so bad after all. Let's try the scallops. The scallops, these are not very big, and normally I can get 4 to 5 slices out of 1 scallop. Let's see if we can get at least 3 decent ones out of this. So I like to eat them as sashimi. Sometimes I put them on nigiri with the rice, but the flavor is delicate, so I don't like to mix it with a lot of thins. Something interesting about diver scallops is that A lot of people think that the whiter ones are better, but actually I don't believe so. They tend to be treated, and that's why they're so white. And these are Japanese scallops. Normally they're bigger. These are not very big, but they're still very tasty. The flavor when it's not treated is so much better. Done with the first three, let's go for the salmon. Everybody's familiar with salmon. It's tasty, it's buttery, it's affordable. And if you have to use frozen fish, this is a good bet. Normally I don't get a tail piece. I try to get the center piece, so we're gonna play with this one and see how it goes. It may be a little too small for nigiri. It looks like the size is probably better for sashimi. Let's see how we do it. Most people love salmon. It's easy to find. The flavor is mild. It's very buttery and rich. It goes well with pretty much anything. And so this is a winner for most people. Of course, any fish that you're going to use for sushi needs to be sashimi grade, or it needs to have been frozen, to make sure that they don't have any parasites or any other problems. So most fish markets will indicate whether it is sashimi grade or not. If not, just be sure to ask. So I think I got all the slices I can out of this piece. With the end, I'm going to slice it lengthwise and use it for a sushi roll. So chop it up and mix it with some sriracha to make spicy salmon and use it for nigiri or a hand roll. And this is tuna or maguro. I think everybody's familiar with it. It's one of the favorite fishes for sushi. Tuna is one of the most popular cuts of fish. It's very delicious and easy to prepare, at least if you can get it already cleaned and ready to go. This particular piece has a part that's a little bit damaged. I didn't see it. It was probably under the label, but it's still a good piece of fish. So I'm going to try and get as many slices as I can for nigiri. Here's the part that's a little bit chewed up, and it's not a problem. I'm going to cut it up, chop it up actually, and mix it with some sriracha and maybe a little mayo, and make spicy tuna for the roll. I like to wipe my board with water and vinegar just to make sure it's clean for the next prep, and with water and bleach at the end of the whole process. I'm chopping the leftover tuna to make the spicy tuna roll. I'm putting some sriracha. It's a small amount of fish, so just a teaspoon of sriracha would be enough. And I'll add a little bit of mayo. I like Kewpie mayonnaise. It's from Japan and it tastes delicious. Regardless the amount of fish that I chop for spicy tuna, I always do it by hand and mix it by hand because I think the food processor would just make a paste of it. So let's try and make a roll. The first thing I do obviously is get the roll mat prepared. I used to wrap it in plastic wrap, as I've seen in many places. That's what they do. But I found that really difficult. The plastic just didn't want to stay in place. So finally I came up with this method of putting it in a Ziploc bag, and I don't close it all the way so that the air comes out when you roll it, otherwise it'll be puffy, but it works really well for me. Before you start making your roll, put some water in a bowl. I add some vinegar so it doesn't take away from the seasoning on the rice, and make sure you put the bowl of water next to the rice, otherwise you'll splash your nori. And of course you need nori. I bought this nori not knowing that it had, actually it said irregular, but I didn't even notice. The important thing is that it's nice and crispy. The edge is not a big deal. Most of the time the edges on the rolls come out funky anyway, so nobody's going to notice. The taste is going to be the same. So you wet your hands, pick up some rice without squishing it, and put it on the nori. Make sure that the rough side of the nori is up and the smooth side at the bottom. This rice seems a little loose. I think I may have rinsed it more than I needed to. They always said to rinse it until the water comes clear, but honestly, I think a little starch helps. I may also have put a little more vinegar than I needed to, and that's why it's looser. I don't know. I have to say that when I cook it in the Instant Pot, it comes out pretty perfect. You want to spread the rice evenly. Don't press it, just kind of gently spread it. Then what I normally do, I either use sesame seeds or tobiko. This masago, like tobiko, is a fish roe. This is what I have today, so that's what I'm going to do. Normally I put the amount of tobiko that I'm going to need in a little container so that I don't contaminate all of it. But I am a little bit out of sync right now. It's still pretty much this is what you do. You just spread the tobiko on top. Then you have to turn it over, or you don't have to. You could just roll the whatever you're going to put in the rice side and roll it. But I usually like the rice side and the outside. Since I don't have a lot of fish, a lot of the spicy tuna, I'm going to add a few things to make up for it. I'm going to put cucumber, and normally I would put avocado if I had some. So let me see what I can find. I think I have some guacamole, actually not really guacamole, but just avocado that I puree with some lime juice and salt sometimes and put it in the freezer for when I need it. If I have too many avocados before they go bad, I just do that and have them in the freezer, and then when I need it, I bring it out and I use it for either guacamole or anything else. I promise you I did not measure the cucumber. It's just a fluke. It came out the right size. I'm also going to add a cheese olive. This is what they normally put on your plates with when they give you nigiris or sashimi. I didn't used to eat it, and then I discovered that I loved it. And now I'm going to add the sort of guacamole, let's say. This is going to be tricky because we have a soft spicy tuna in the avocado. It's going to make it kind of a tender roll. So let's see how we roll it and cut it. Rolling it, take it easy, take your time. Don't squeeze it too much, but be firm. You have to make sure that the roll is tight enough so that it can be cut without falling apart. And you're rolling the sushi roll, the filling is going to want to come out. You just keep an eye on it and push it back in as you go. At the end, when you're finished with the roll, I like to wrap it up in plastic and let it set for a few minutes. I think it makes it easier to cut, but you can always cut it right away, which I'm going to do right now. Before you start cutting the roll, make sure you have a wet towel next to you so that you can wipe the knife after each cut. If your knife is sharp, it's going to be no problem with the plastic wrap or anything. If not, you may have to do what I sometimes do, which is use a serrated steak knife. And that usually does the job. The other thing that I recommend is that you go all the way through. Make sure you go all the way through to the board, even though it sounds like I'm being hard on the board. If I don't do that, by the time I want to plate the roll will just fall apart. All things considered, being that there's a soft filling, it's cutting okay. Now make sure that once you lift the plastic, every piece comes out and make sure there's no plastic left on the roll. And here you go, one roll. There's a silica packet that comes in with the nori. Make sure you leave that and close it well so it doesn't become soggy. Otherwise it'll be pretty useless next time you want to make sushi. Let's make another roll. This time I'm going to use the whole pieces of salmon, and I think I'm still going to do rice side out for this one. For some reason I just like it better. I think what happens is when the seaweed is in the outside it tends to get soggy. So for this roll I'm going to put the leftover fish. I have salmon and kampachi, and usually mixing the different fishes is fine. Turn it over at once. Oops, I could have done better. But when you turn it over, it has to be a decisive movement. It looks like I lost part of the video, but here is the roll. At the end I didn't use tobiko, I used cheese olive. It may be a little strong, but we'll try it. In the next video I will show you how to wrap the rolls with cheese olive or anything else, or how to make a rainbow roll. And this is fresh wasabi. You can't always find it, so if you do, give it a try. It's actually an excellent choice if you can find it. It's a little expensive, but it is worth it. There are other wasabis that are also very good. This first one is one that is already prepared. This is also prepared. And this third one is powder that you mix with water. The rice for the nigiri, it's a little loose, but it's okay. It's better for it to be a little airy, not too dense. It's a better bite. You put a little wasabi on one side of your fish and then turn it over on top of the rice and shape it the best you can without overdoing it. And that's it. It seems that at the same time I lost the clip of the roll, I've lost the grating of the wasabi. Just so you know, I've used a microplane. It worked out really well, and I guess this happens when you're using your iPhone and don't have much experience, since this is my first video, but I hope that it's watchable anyhow. So I'm going to continue to do some nigiris until I run out of rice, which will be pretty soon. And then I'm going to try and fit everything in this little tray. Like I say, I don't have my regular dishes here, but sometimes it looks good if you just kind of put it all together. It looks like jewels. And by the way, give yourself a little bit more room than I have. I'm just trying to get everything within the camera view. This is wakame, seaweed salad. I like to serve it when I serve sushi, just to have a little variety. The wakame is easy. It's already prepared. So just open the package and serve it in a bowl. And of course, soy sauce. Not that I use a lot of it, mostly just when I eat the sushi. You can use any sauces that you like with sushi. I like to use unagi sauce. It's a little bit like teriyaki, a little bit sweeter and thicker. And I also like to use sriracha because it's spicy. And sometimes I mix it with mayo. This is Kewpie mayonnaise. It comes from Japan. It's very good. This is ginger. I like to buy the natural with no red coloring added. I'm going to set everything on the table, and you will notice that there is a unagi nigiri. I was being lazy and I bought it already prepared. Let's try a little piece. Delicious. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it and maybe learn a little something. See you in my next video.